Shalom, everybody. It's been a little while. It's been a very busy week. I was hoping to get to you right after Shabbat, but Sunday was actually my first day on the internship, and it's just been busy, busy, busy ever since. So, first of all, some thoughts from last Shabbat, and then a little bit on work. Simone Schicker is a phenomenal woman who is, even to today, making my life in Israel more enjoyable. Now, it's a long chain of events. I arrive at the kibbutz, meet this girl Simone, we connect right away. She's going to be going to rabbinical school next year. Simone, I wish you the best of luck on your Hebrew tests. I really hope your tutoring's going well for you. If you ever want to practice, give me a Skype call. Anyhow, she has this very old friend. Her name's Bryn. Hi, Bryn. Now, Bryn and Simone haven't spoken in years. And Simone invites Bryn up to the kibbutz because they realize over Facebook that they're both in Israel at the same time. The awkwardness of not having spoken to each other in years leads Simone to ask me, Josh, I have this friend coming, her name's Bryn. She's a really awesome person, at least she was, but we haven't spoken in ages. Would you be willing to, hang out with us this weekend so it doesn't possibly get awkward? Of course. Any friend of Simone's is a friend of mine, I say. How right I was. Bryn and I get along fabulously. Bryn's into music and sci-fi and all this cool stuff. She understands Judaism. We connect. It's great. She invites Simone and I down for an eventual Shabbat. The kibbutz program doesn't work out for Simone, and Simone goes back to the States for private Hebrew tutoring. Simone, I miss you. I will track you down. You should come to my graduation if you're watching this, Simone, June 15th. Believe it or not, I actually have an outline for this that I'm working off of. But I miss people, so I'm being a little overly personal here. Okay, anyhow, moving on. So, I go down to Bryn's, meet Bryn's roommates, we get along, it's nice, interesting household. Bryn thinks I would really get along with her friend Manya. Now, last week was Manya's last week in Israel. So Bryn makes sure to introduce Manya and I. We go out to the Israel Museum, Bryn, her roommate Megan, and Manya. Manya and I really get along. It's cool. She's a really good person. I want to get to know her better, and I've only seen her a week. It's kind of frustrating. Anyhow, Manya thinks I would get along well with her friend Carrie. Carrie is in the military here in Israel and is living in Tel Aviv. Manya, Carrie, and I had an absolutely great Shabbat. It was braised, salmon with a drawn butter and Riesling reduction on top, and a sprinkling of rosemary and Parmesan cheese. Karen brought pashtida, an American-style lattice-top apple pie. I hadn't had anything like that since I left the States. It was delicious. I brought ice cream and I did the fish, and brought wine and challah. It's something very special to wake up on a Friday and go, I'm going to need challah, and walk down to the bakery and buy a challah before it closes. Pick up a loaf of bread for the next week, have them slice it for you. Stop at the wine shop, pick out your wine, and it makes Friday about preparing for the Sabbath. And that is something absolutely beautiful. It's something I can get in the States, but it's not something I usually do get in the States. Friday's usually a school day, or if it's Hillel, we're definitely getting ready for Sabbath, but it's a very different kind of getting ready for Sabbath. Here it was like a winding down, a cleaning up for company, a gathering of good people. Sabbath was great. Carrie and I also hung out on Saturday, did our first ever, for both of us, ravioli from scratch. When I say from scratch, I mean flour and egg equals pasta. It was delicious. Next time, if we use raw egg in the filling, we should cook it a little longer. We should also beat the pasta a little smoother, but it's a learning experience. So, point one, Simone, my life in Israel keeps getting better, and that's largely because of the chain of people that you have introduced me to. Thank you. That and we're overdue to hang out. We should make a Skype date. Sunday was my first day working with Iraq. Now, the task that they've brought me on board to do is to work on a website for them. I've seen their site, I've spent some time in their office speaking with people. It's amazing watching them work. Um, on a side note, I'm working directly with the person who's in charge of organizational development, so to watch how they seek out donations and find the funds needed to continue their mission is a really good opportunity. Hopefully, they have the funds available to compensate me for transportation. If so, I'm going to be down in that office maybe 2 times a week, sitting with them, watching over their shoulder as I work on my own projects. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do most of my work remotely, and really, I'd like to get right in there with them. It's such a dynamic team. I got to meet with the executive director, Anat Hoffman. We spoke about lots of things, which brings me to the third point, actually, which is Aliyah. The longer I'm here, especially the longer that I'm here away from the kibbutz and actually plugged directly into Israeli society instead of in this insular bubble that is the kibbutz, being as I've mentioned before, a self-selecting group of individuals of similar ideas who vote for other individuals to have the right to join them. Here, I'm experiencing such a cross-section of Israeli society. Where I am, Ramat Aviv, nice neighborhood, I have right outside my front door a Domino's Pizza that does pizzas with pepperoni on it, whole 9 yards, and a Chabad within 20 feet of each other. It's really a unique situation. Well, it's not unique. It's really common in Israel, but it's unique to my experience. And I'm loving it. And I'm finding more and more that Judaism here, although you have the Dati folks, the religious, the Orthodox, and you have the secular folks, you have people in between. They just don't have the attention or the state recognition. And I've mentioned before, I've thought before, that the only real thing stopping me from making Aliyah, as wonderful as this land is I want to work within the Jewish community. I want to wed people, to convert people, to, when marriages don't work out, either help people work through it or be able to grant them the divorces they need so they can find their happiness somewhere. As a liberal rabbi in Israel, I wouldn't be able to do that. Sometimes the world starts knocking me upside the head. I have now heard from people as diverse as my fiance and the director of the Israel Religious Action Center that if that's my only problem with life here, maybe I should stay here and maybe I should fight to change it. And instead of working as a liberal rabbi in the States, work as a liberal rabbi in Israel and don't stop fighting until I'm able to do exactly what I want to do. Now, Anat doesn't know very well, but Annie, my lady love, most certainly knows me well enough to know that if she tells me, don't stop fighting, and I choose to listen because I can be a very stubborn man, and sometimes that stubbornness manifests as choosing not to listen. If I do choose to listen, that don't stop fighting will be a not stopping fighting. And I will either make change or spend the entirety of my life working to make that change. So, more and more I find myself thinking about Aliyah, and it's a very interesting thought. I'm sure in later posts this will be discussed more. Right now it's a process of fitting in and feeling at home, and that joy isn't grasping a new language, or as I walk into a restaurant and I know that I can order anything off the menu and any other thing off the menu and eat them. Or being in Israel and experiencing the politics and problems of the Jewish state as more than just where are its borders and what happens at them, and how do we address one state, two state, Israel, Palestine? How do we address that? But to be here in the middle of it and watching the dynamic cultural exchange between Israeli Arabs and Israeli Jews, watching the problems, and there are problems here within Judaism as they work to integrate the Jews more recently out of Africa with the Jewish society as it is, or the strange and surprising fact that as a Jew, the lighter your skin, the more successful you're probably going to end up economically here. I don't like that fact. I don't like that fact at all, but it's where the society is right now. There's so much that's happening here that's not discussed stateside, and the Hebrew study is going very well. I am learning very much. I'm conversational with strangers on the streets or in restaurants about everything from food and directions to what programming language they want to be studying in university. I still need work on past and future, and I've learned about 100 new words through the vocabulary program I'm using online. Again, I emphasize, I know I've said this before, memorize.com, totally amazing. It'll even let you compare how you're doing to how I'm doing. Competition is fun. Missing you all, and I hope to be able to post something new again soon. Litraot.